Imagine if your mind could tune into God's divine frequency. I discovered a truth that changed everything about faith and manifestation. A truth hidden not in esoteric secrets, but in the open law of creation itself. When I began studying Bob Proctor's teachings, I realized the principles of mind, vibration, and attraction were not separate from the spiritual laws I had been taught, but were, in fact, the mechanics of how heaven responds to a human being. It was through these spiritual principles that I finally understood the true meaning of creation and the immense, sacred power entrusted to our thoughts. For years, I sought abundance through sheer effort, through grinding work, believing that success was earned solely by the sweat of one's brow. I felt disconnected, as if I were pleading for blessings that were constantly being withheld.
The struggle continued until I understood the connection between my subconscious mind and the universal divine source of all things. Bob Proctor often said that the only thing holding us back is our paradigm, that invisible set of ideas operating below the surface of our awareness. I realized my paradigm was vibrating at a frequency of lack, even while my conscious mind spoke words of hope. The change was instantaneous once I shifted my focus from the outside world of results to the inner world of cause. When I grasped the concept that faith is not a mere hope but a vibrational force, a perfect, clear alignment with the source, my reality began to reorganize itself around me. I started to understand that my thought was sacred energy, and that I was constantly transmitting a signal. This journey is not just about financial success. It is about recognizing your spiritual identity as a creator. It is about moving from the scarcity mindset of the ego into the limitless abundance that is the rightful inheritance of the soul. And today, here on Divine Soul, I'll show you exactly how your faith can align your mind with divine abundance, revealing the spiritual mechanism behind the law of attraction. This is where spirituality meets practical success. If this message resonates deep within your spirit, if you feel a stirring of recognition, please take a moment right now to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you help raise the overall vibration of this community and ensure this message of divine power reaches more human beings who are ready for transformation. The understanding I gained was simple yet profound. Everything is energy. The only difference between a seed and a tree, between an idea and an empire, is the time and the frequency maintained. Faith provides the perfect, consistent frequency needed to bridge the gap between the invisible desire and the visible result. It is the conscious, continuous decision to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing that the source is already at work. This spiritual discipline transforms a mere wish into a powerful decree. Many people use affirmations, but they fail because the words are not backed by a matching emotional and spiritual vibration. The mind says one thing, but the spirit resonates with doubt. True faith, the faith that moves mountains and manifests millions, is a feeling. It is a state of being. It is absolute certainty in the face of contrary evidence. It is realizing that the material world is only a mirror, and you must first change the image within before the reflection can change without. This is the divine mindset. I will be sharing the 5 essential sections that completely reprogrammed my inner world, culminating in a clarity that opened a channel of spiritual flow unlike anything I had ever experienced. The figures I mentioned in the title, the $77 million, were not the goal. They were the effect of realizing this one divine truth. They were the natural result of tuning into heaven's frequency. When you stop working for money and start working from the truth of your oneness with Source, the abundance flows effortlessly. Stay with me until the very end, because I will break down the complete divine alignment formula. Before we move on, consider this. What is the single biggest area of lack or frustration in your life right now? The answer to that question will become the focus of your next massive breakthrough once you align your faith. Bob Proctor's central concept was that the human mind is the greatest power on earth, a power that operates under the immutable law of vibration. This law states that nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. This is the scientific, material description of what Scripture calls the breath of life, the continuous energetic movement of the divine source. Our thoughts are not abstract concepts. They are actual energy waves, a form of electric and magnetic activity that extends beyond the physical boundaries of the skull. When I first grasped this, the idea of a spiritual mindset ceased to be theoretical and became a matter of pure physics, or rather, metaphysics. The mind, therefore,
is the primary instrument of co-creation. It is the spiritual factory, where invisible ideas are translated into tangible reality. We are constantly attracting to us the things, circumstances, and people that are in vibrational harmony with our dominant thoughts and feelings. This is the law of attraction, a secondary law that is always subservient to the law of vibration. The moment I understood this hierarchy, I knew that to change my life, I couldn't just change my actions. I had to change my vibration. This meant going deeper, past the conscious mind of logic, and into the subconscious, which is eternally linked to the universal spiritual flow. This connects directly to the divine law. The principle of reciprocity, the concept of sowing and reaping, is simply the law of vibration in action. What you send out in thought energy, you must receive back in manifest form. The Word of God tells us to guard our hearts, or our minds, with all diligence, for out of them flow the issues of life. This is the spiritual mandate for Proctor's teaching on the paradigm. When I understood that my thoughts had frequency, I realized that every moment I spent worrying or doubting, I was actively, powerfully manifesting the very things I did not want. I was using my creative power against myself. The transformation began when I committed to aligning my internal state with the truth of God's abundance, regardless of my current circumstances. This meant recognizing the human being as a channel for the divine. The divine mindset is not arrogance. It is the humble acceptance of your rightful place as an extension of source energy. It is the realization that the power that created the universe is the same power working through your mind right now. We are not separate from the source. We are one with it. This oneness is the foundation of true faith. The connection between the mind and faith, therefore, becomes crystal clear. Faith is the sustained, high-level vibration of absolute certainty. It is the emotional and spiritual conviction that your desired outcome has already been sealed in the invisible realm. It is the bridge between the two banks of reality, the spiritual and the physical. Without faith, the thought energy dissipates, interrupted by the static of doubt. But when faith is applied, the signal remains clean, strong, and consistent, creating a pathway for the heavens' frequency to flow through and organize the material world into the desired form. This realization offered me a perfect, memorable metaphor. The mind is the antenna of the soul. If the antenna is bent or pointed toward static, meaning if the thoughts are scattered, fearful, or doubtful, it cannot receive the clear signal of divine abundance. But when the mind is purified by faith, focused by intention, and tuned to the source, it receives the perfect, clear instructions for co-creation. It literally connects to the unlimited repository of ideas and resources that is the mind of God. The physical world then rushes to meet that high-powered, clear transmission. This leads to the crucial rhetorical question: what if every thought was a prayer in motion? If you truly accepted this as your operating truth, how would you change your focus? You would become hyper-vigilant about the quality of your thoughts. You would stop indulging in self-pity, criticism, or fear, because you would recognize those thoughts as prayers for what you don't want. You would only entertain thoughts that reflect the truth of your desired life, treating them as sacred decrees being sent to the universal processing center. The spiritual mindset foundation is this: you are constantly creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. The purpose of this teaching is to move you into conscious creation, utilizing the universal law of attraction with the spiritual power of faith. It requires discipline, but not struggle. It requires surrender to the greater law, but not passivity. It is the active, joyful alignment of your individual mind with the creative power of the source. It is knowing, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are a channel for unlimited good. The question is, how does the law of attraction operate when it is channeled through the spiritual force of faith? It operates as a perfect magnetic reflection. The human being is not attracting things from outside. The human being is bringing forth the potential that already exists within the universal field of consciousness. The law of attraction, understood through the divine mindset, is simply the mechanism by which the universe, which is the body of God, organizes itself to match the dominant idea held in the human mind, provided that idea is saturated with faith. The critical phase of this process is the shift from mere belief to spiritual knowing. Belief is often conditional. It says, "I'll believe it when I see it." Spiritual knowing is unconditional. It declares, "Because I know it in the invisible, it must appear in the visible." This knowing is the absolute, quiet certainty that the desire is already complete, a done deal, sealed in the spiritual plane. This level of faith dissolves all anxiety and fear, which are the main inhibitors of the spiritual flow. When the anxiety is gone, the vibrational signal becomes pure. This pure signal is most powerfully transmitted through the spoken word. The word is vibration that creates. This is not simply about mouthing positive statements. It's about speaking from that internal place of knowing. When you declare your abundance, your health, or your perfect alignment, that declaration sends an immediate, measurable energetic ripple across the universal substance. Every cell in your body, every thought in your mind, and every feeling in your spirit aligns with that verbalized decree. The power of the spoken word is that it forces the subconscious mind, which operates without logic, to accept the new reality. It moves the thought from an abstract concept into a concrete, vibrational form that the law of attraction can recognize and match. This is the difference between a wish and a command. A wish is passive. A command, spoken in faith, is an active decree that compels creation. This aligns perfectly with the mandatory phrase that contains the entire essence of co-creation. Faith is not passive. Faith is the vibration that calls miracles into form. This means the person of faith is an active participant in their destiny, not a passive recipient. They are using their divine faculty of will to hold the image, their faculty of reason to understand the law, and their faculty of faith to provide the perfect emotional energy. When these three, will, reason, and faith, are in perfect agreement, the heaven's frequency is achieved. This frequency is so powerful that it instantaneously reorders the potential energy around the human being. The divine alignment that results is a state of grace, where effort ceases to be a struggle and becomes an enjoyable expression of the creative process. Instead of pushing against resistance, the human being flows with the current of divine intention. When operating from this divine mindset, every action taken is inspired, every door opened is the right door, and every person met is the perfect connection. It is the experience of perfect synchronicity, the universe moving to accommodate the clarity of the human being's faith-filled thought. We must understand that the sacred energy of faith is a form of spiritual magnetism. It pulls the needed resources, ideas, and opportunities into the current reality. It is a shift from believing that God exists to knowing that God exists as you in this act of creation. This knowing brings an immense sense of responsibility and peace. Responsibility, because you are now in charge of your dominant vibration, and peace, because you know the law cannot fail. Therefore, the divine mind in action is the total surrender of the material results to the spiritual certainty. It is the continuous, conscious practice of holding the inner vision and maintaining the corresponding feeling of gratitude, knowing that the manifest result is inevitable. This is the only way to truly attract the magnitude of abundance that is already prepared for you by the source. This is the truth of the law of attraction. You don't chase results. You raise your vibration to a place where the results are naturally drawn to you. I want to share the true story of Michael, a highly talented individual who was stuck. Michael was a musician with extraordinary skill, yet he was scraping by, working side jobs that drained his energy and kept him far from his true calling. He desperately wanted to create a production studio and live solely from his sacred energy of music, but his financial reality was a constant source of stress. He was caught in the classic trap, looking at his empty bank account and allowing that lack to determine his worth and his future. Michael had read all the books on the law of attraction and tried the vision boards, but they felt hollow. He was performing the actions of manifestation without the inner state of faith. His mental struggle was evident. He would visualize the studio, but immediately afterward, a voice of doubt would whisper, "How? You don't have the credit, you don't have the contacts, and you certainly don't have the money." That doubt was the dominant vibration, canceling out the positive intention and keeping him in a low faith vibration. His revelation came during a deep meditative session where he surrendered his struggle. He stopped demanding the result and simply connected with the feeling of being a successful, abundant creator. He realized his faith wasn't in God's abundance. It was in his ability to earn enough to convince the source. The shift was simple. He stopped focusing on the lack of money and started focusing on the omnipresent, limitless quality of the source itself. He switched his mindset from, "I need to get $200,000, to, "I am one with the divine energy of abundance." This realization created an immediate shift in vibration. He stopped seeing his current struggle as a limitation and started seeing it as the spiritual friction needed to strengthen his conviction. His attitude changed from desperate seeking to grateful receiving. He started working on his music not as a side hustle, but as the main divine assignment of his life. He began radiating the confidence and peace of someone who had already received the blessing, operating from the divine mindset. The blessing arrived not as a lump sum of money, but as an idea, inspired by the heaven's frequency he was now tuned into. He was guided to look at his current, modest equipment, not as a limitation, but as a resource to be leveraged. He used the small amount of capital he did have to create high-quality demo reels for local businesses, a completely new, lucrative niche he hadn't considered. The income from these small projects was enough to sustain his full-time devotion to his art. Within 18 months, the demand for his unique sound engineering skills exploded. He attracted partners, investors, and clients who were all in vibrational harmony with his new identity as an abundant creator. The studio, once a distant dream, practically built itself through a series of perfectly timed events and effortless transactions. He did not have to fight for the money. The money flowed to meet his new vibration. He literally became the magnet for his desire. This transformation was not accidental or random. It was a precise execution of spiritual law. It wasn't luck. It was alignment. Faith meeting divine law. Michael's story is a powerful testament that the moment of true manifestation is the moment of perfect internal divine alignment. The external world has no choice but to reshape itself to conform to the dominant spiritual truth you hold within your consciousness. The $77 million figures I spoke of came from similar, unwavering alignment, a decision to stop looking to the physical world for proof and start relying on the spiritual law for certainty. Michael's experience taught me that we are never asking God for something that isn't already ours. We are simply asked to clear the static, the doubt, the fear, the low vibration, so that the already present abundance can be received. His victory was not in getting the studio. His victory was in realizing that his creative power was linked to source, making him untouchable by lack. He became a conduit for the unlimited resources of the divine. The declarations we make are not mere words spoken into the air. They are vibrational commands that restructure our inner reality and, consequently, our outer world. They are the practical application of the divine mindset, translating the abstract idea of abundance into a present-tense, undeniable fact. Bob Proctor taught that the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one vividly imagined and declared. Therefore, our declarations must be spoken with such conviction that they are accepted as the absolute truth by our spiritual core. To truly activate the law of attraction, these affirmations must reflect the certainty of the source. They must not plead or wish. They must declare possession. They are the active process of turning the mental image into a faith vibration that resonates with the source. They must be structured to affirm the oneness between the human being and the unlimited power of God. Using the structure, I plus present tense, verb plus divine manifestation. The goal is to feel the emotions of the wish fulfilled now. Let us internalize these powerful decrees, allowing them to penetrate the deepest layers of the subconscious mind. We are moving from the intellectual agreement of the idea to the emotional embodiment of the truth. I want you to feel the words move through your spirit, creating a physical reaction, a surge of sacred energy that confirms their veracity. This emotional guidance is essential, for emotion is the true fuel of the manifestation process. The first declaration is foundational. I am one with the divine energy of abundance. This is a statement of spiritual identity, not financial need. It acknowledges that abundance is not something external to be acquired, but an internal state to be recognized. It aligns the individual mind with the unlimited, eternal flow of the source, ensuring that all forms of good, financial, physical, and relational, are attracted to this perfect heaven's frequency. It instantly eliminates the fear of lack. The second declaration protects the channel. I attract only what aligns with God's perfect plan for me. This statement is crucial for intentional creation. It ensures that the creative power of the mind is always guided by divine wisdom. It moves the human being beyond self-serving, ego-driven desires, and into the harmonious spiritual flow of a greater design. It introduces grace and ease into the process, ensuring that every manifest result serves the highest good. The third declaration asserts creative mastery. I think, I believe, and I receive through faith. This creates the perfect triad of cause and effect. Thinking is the signal, believing, which is faith, is the frequency, and receiving is the inevitable result. It puts the responsibility for creation squarely back onto the individual, but also grants them the power of creation. It is the acknowledgement that faith is the operating mechanism of the universal law, making manifestation a predictable science. The fourth declaration expands the reality. I vibrate at the frequency of love, health, and limitless joy. This ensures that the attraction is holistic, not just materialistic. True abundance encompasses a full, rich life, free from the limitations of sickness or emotional deficit. By declaring and embodying these high, positive vibrations, the individual moves into a state of spiritual perfection, attracting experiences that reflect total well-being in every area of life. The continuous repetition of these declarations in a state of feeling is what finally shifts the entire paradigm. It replaces the old, limiting programs of fear and scarcity with the new, boundless truth of the divine alignment. You must not just say them. You must act as if they are true, feel as if they are true, and know that the universe is already reorganizing itself to match your new vibrational command. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual decree. Right now, as you internalize these declarations, what part of your life is most urgently calling for a higher frequency? I want you to pause and write a declaration in the comments that perfectly summarizes the one thing you are committing to manifest through faith, right now. Declare your chosen state of being below. We arrive now at the culmination of this teaching, the perfect, undeniable connection between thought, vibration, and the divine source. The entire mechanism of manifestation, as taught by Bob Proctor and revealed in spiritual law, hinges on this single synthesis. Everything you have learned about the divine mindset and the faith vibration comes together in this formula, which acts as the blueprint for conscious creation. It is the key that translates potential energy into kinetic reality. Understanding this formula requires recognizing that the universe is not just a collection of matter. It is a unified, intelligent field of energy, the very omnipresent consciousness of God. Your thought is the initiating force within this field. It is the spiritual finger that first touches the clay of creation. Every thought, whether positive or negative, sets off a corresponding vibration that begins to attract elements in harmony with its nature. The quality of your thought determines the ultimate outcome you attract. However, thought alone is insufficient. It is often fleeting and easily distracted. This is where faith becomes the critical component. Faith is the power that sustains and amplifies the thought signal, giving it the required intensity and duration to penetrate the physical realm. Faith is the emotional and spiritual conviction that removes all contradiction, all static, and all resistance. It is the continuous knowing that what you desire is already provided, waiting for your perfect vibrational match. Faith raises the simple signal of thought to the heaven's frequency. Therefore, we have the complete picture. God is the source, the unlimited, eternal, and inexhaustible supply of all good things. God is the creative substance itself. Our role is to align our individual mind with this ultimate source. Faith is the perfect frequency needed for that connection. And thought is the signal, the precise instruction sent from the individual mind to the universal spiritual flow. This understanding is why the central, mandatory phrase is so powerful. God is the source. Faith is the frequency. Thought is the signal. Let's internalize this concept with a powerful, memorable metaphor. Consider the mind as a powerful broadcast station. The thought is the content being broadcasted, the song or the message. Faith is the power generator that gives the signal its strength, ensuring it reaches the farthest receivers without distortion. And God is the entire electromagnetic spectrum, the infinite medium through which the broadcast travels, and the ultimate receiving station that processes the signal. Without faith, the signal is too weak, and the law of attraction cannot effectively organize the required elements. To truly activate this formula, we must achieve divine alignment, a state where the human will is completely surrendered to the source, not in passivity, but in perfect trust. This spiritual readiness is articulated by the decree, Lord, I open my mind and align with your abundance. This is the acknowledgement that we are not the source of the power, but the channel for the power. This humility, combined with the certainty of faith, creates the most powerful, attractive force possible. The divine alignment formula brings clarity to the co-creative process by defining the precise role of each element. It removes the mystery and replaces it with an operating manual for creation. It reveals that the power to manifest is not external, but internal, activated through the right combination of mental focus and spiritual certainty. We can summarize this powerful truth into a perfect statement that governs all spiritual success. Thought is sacred energy. Thought is the active, energetic projection of the invisible desire. It is the original point of creation, carrying the blueprint of the manifestation. Faith is heaven's frequency. Faith is the consistent, high vibrational energy that sustains the thought and connects it perfectly to the source, making the manifestation inevitable. And God is limitless abundance. God is the universal, inexhaustible reservoir of all possibility, the underlying substance and intelligence that responds to the faith-filled thought. This formula is not theoretical. It is the living law of your being. When you apply this with discipline, your life transforms from a series of accidents into a continuous demonstration of divine power and spiritual flow. You have been given the formula. You now understand that your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas, but packets of sacred energy that determine your destiny. The struggle ceases the moment you stop operating from the old paradigm of lack and fully embrace the divine mindset that is your birthright. The shift is instantaneous when you choose to activate your faith vibration. Today, I invite you to raise your vibration and align your faith with God's frequency. This is not a suggestion. It is a spiritual imperative for those ready to step into their power. The life of abundance you desire is not something you have to hunt down. It is something you must align with, something you must allow to flow through you. Stop doubting your divine potential. Stop accepting the evidence of your senses as the ultimate reality, especially when that evidence contradicts the spiritual truth of the source. The material world is always delayed. Your past cannot define the perfect, limitless future you are creating right now through your divine alignment. Start speaking your truth with faith. Start acting from the certainty of the heavens' frequency. Every word you utter, every step you take, must be imbued with the conviction that you are a channel for unlimited good. You must walk and talk as the person who has already received the blessing. This is the end of striving and the beginning of flowing. This is the moment you move from the intellectual understanding of Bob Proctor's teachings to the spiritual embodiment of creation itself. The $77 million figures, the perfect health, the loving relationships, these are simply the natural outcomes of maintaining a perfect signal. Before you go, make a final powerful decree. We are sealing this teaching with action. Write this in the comments below. I am the divine channel. I am the divine channel. This is not just a comment. It's your spiritual declaration of alignment. It is your soul stating its intention to live in harmony with the spiritual flow. It is your commitment to maintain the high frequency necessary to attract and manifest your deepest, most sacred desires. If this message resonated with your spirit, if you felt the power of this truth move through you, please like, share, and subscribe to Divine Soul. Join this community of conscious creators. Your engagement helps us raise the vibration for human beings across the planet. Next week, we are diving deep into the one hidden emotional block that is silently killing your faith vibration, the secret struggle Bob Proctor called the terror barrier. Don't miss that powerful teaching, because when your mind aligns with faith, heaven aligns with you.